5 years ago tonight, she was taken. Ohio State student Reagan Tokes was kidnapped as she left work in the short north, raped and murdered by a convicted sex offender who was not closely watched, but the evidence shows could have been. Thanks for joining us tonight at 6. I'm Andrew Kinsey.
And I'm Yolanda Harris. Tonight, 5 years later, lawmakers are one step closer to passing a bill that would shore up how ex-prisoners are monitored by the state once they're released.
The gaps in the system were first exposed by 10 Investigates. Chief Investigator reporter Bennett Haverly live at the Ohio State House tonight with the update. Bennett.
Andrew and Yolanda, today's vote and tomorrow's expected vote were certainly significant, especially for Reagan Tokes' family, as this comes 5 years since her kidnapping and murder.
House Bill 166 shall be favorably reported out of the committee.
And with that, the Ohio Criminal Justice Committee reignited the spark for a bill that has at times languished.
Innocent lives are at stake, and innocent lives would be saved with this preventative measure.
When we spoke back in August, Reagan's mother, Lisa, expressed frustration at the glacial pace with which the bill bearing her daughter's name had taken. She wasn't the only one frustrated.
The system is definitely broken. Reagan Tokes, Rachel Anderson, Tamika Turner, these are 3 young women, daughters, sisters, and a mother, whose lives were taken by violent felons being supervised by a broken adult parole authority system that is understaffed, under-resourced, and has misplaced priorities.
In September, Anthony Caldwell spoke to lawmakers on behalf of the union representing parole officers. He said their caseloads are too high and that the state either needed to hire more people or lower the workloads to levels where they can adequately supervise offenders, which is not what happened in the case of Brian Goldsby. Reagan's killer was released in late 2016, but because of his past, no halfway house would accept him, so he was assigned a GPS ankle monitor. But no one closely monitored his whereabouts, and there were no electronic boundaries on him that would restrict or limit his movements. It was only after his arrest that authorities checked the data on his ankle monitor, which tied him to a string of robberies in the German Village area in the weeks and day leading up to Reagan's kidnapping. The data also placed him in the park where Reagan's body was found. 10 Investigates reporting uncovered these gaps and found other victims killed by offenders under the watch of the parole authority. While a portion of the Reagan Tokes Act did become law dealing with criminal sentencing, the remaining pieces have not. If passed, this bill would beef up GPS monitoring of offenders. It would also increase access of GPS crime data to law enforcement, reduce parole officers' caseloads, and require the state to create a re-entry program for offenders, reducing those who are released homeless.
Our daughter lost her life over this flawed system. This is our reality that will never go away, change, or get better for us.
5 years later, a family is still without their daughter. 5 years later, lawmakers are a step closer to effecting change.
The timing is certainly something that you can't ignore, and on a day that is, I imagine, incredibly hard for the family, I hope that this sparks a little bit of hope for them.
And the full House is expected to reconvene its session at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Today, I exchanged text messages with Lisa McCurry Tokes, and I asked her if the family was excited about this latest legislative hurdle. She said, very much so, especially given the date. Reporting outside the State House tonight, Bennett Haverly, 10 TV News.